Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here for episode 13, lucky number 13, and we're going to continue talking about autonomous cars today. Last time we talked about the early history of these that goes way, way back, but now we're going to talk about much more current events, really since 2000. So Tesla was founded in 2003. The company that's now Waymo was founded by Google in 2008. But obviously the huge breakthrough that we've talked about before that clearly applies to autonomous cars is the neural net breakthrough in 2012. So that was really the enabling technology that has allowed this industry to really take off. So where are things at now with autonomous cars? Well, Uber is driving every day in Pittsburgh, and Waymo is driving every day in Phoenix with fully autonomous test vehicles. And Tesla, of course, is racking up autonomous miles with drivers in the cars, but racking them up every day. So at this point, tens or hundreds of millions of miles have been driven with autonomous cars. It's a staggering number. And obviously the goal ultimately of autonomous cars is to have them be safer than human beings drive them, right? Which isn't that difficult when you consider that in the United States alone, there's 40,000 traffic fatalities a year, 40,000 people. Now, the number of people that have been killed by autonomous cars so far is about 10, and that's not to minimize that, but over many years compared to 40,000 every single year, it's better to deal with facts, and this is a circumstance where that's true. So the government's going to be slow to approve full autonomy. And it's got to do it on the basis of data, and the data is rapidly being accumulated at this point. So there's 5 different levels of autonomy with autonomous cars. Level 1 started in the early 2000s. That's your lane assist, your parking assist, your backup cameras. And those backup cameras were sort of like the early technology for the cameras that are on autonomous vehicles now that are much more sophisticated than back then. Level 2 is driver assisted. 5 of the fatalities have been in level 2 driver assisted mode. So that means that a human was behind the wheel and did not intervene to correct the car. This was a little while ago to prevent someone from getting killed. So that was as much human error as autonomous vehicle error. And then there's been 2 or 3 with level 3, which is called conditional autonomy. And that's sort of like better than driver assist, but a driver still has to be in the car and they have to watch it. Maybe it works on the freeway, but it doesn't work on city streets. That's probably a fair definition of conditional autonomy. Level 4 is mostly autonomous, with minor exceptions, driver required behind the wheel. That is where Tesla and Waymo cars are now, and Uber are easily there. So many miles are being built up right now with level 4 autonomy. And obviously miles with full autonomy level 5 are just starting to be built. But ultimately what you're going to see is no humans driving cars. So when you order an Uber, a Lyft, or a taxi cab, it's going to show up with no human driving it. This will completely change the configuration of cars, by the way, right? There won't be front seat, back seat necessarily, because there doesn't have to be. There can be a door on the side and a ring of seats around the rest of the circumference of the vehicle. So these vehicle arrangements are going to be a lot more human interactive and facing each other, talking to each other and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool to think about. But eventually, in 10 years or so, which is probably a realistic time frame here in the United States, it'll probably be done quicker in China. But here in the US, probably 10 years to get government approval. And you'll start to see fleets of autonomous vehicles in urban environments. And that really is going to profoundly change things. So if you think about New York City, where there's already sort of a differential toll arrangement for the congested part of Manhattan versus the upper parts of Manhattan, eventually, in a major city like that, only autonomous vehicles will be allowed. No private vehicles will be allowed on the streets of Manhattan at some point in the future. And think about what that means. In Manhattan, there will be no gas stations, no parking garages. What's going to happen to all those buildings and all that land that is currently a parking garage? Well, maybe micro parks. Tear down the building, build a park, more green space for humans, which is very, very good for people by all research. So that's about it. This area is going to change rapidly going forward. Once we finish the industry segments, I'm going to give frequent updates about autonomous cars. But that wraps that up, and we'll move to a different industry next time. Thanks, and take care.